Have you ever caught yourself saying something you instantly regretted? Felt a surge of irrational anger? Or perhaps, looked at someone and felt an inexplicable wave of dislike? If so, you've brushed up against something ancient, something primal, something shadowy. Welcome, fellow seekers, to a journey into the uncharted territories of the human psyche. Today, we're not just dipping our toes into philosophical waters. We're diving deep into the abyss that Carl Jung called the shadow. This isn't about spooky ghosts or things that go bump in the night. This is about the hidden corners of ourselves and our world, the parts we'd rather ignore, but which hold immense power over our lives. Imagine a dinner party. You've carefully curated the guest list, the food is exquisite, the conversation flows, until that one person arrives. The one who grates on your nerves, whose opinions seem deliberately contrary, whose very presence casts a subtle pall over the evening. What if I told you that this uninvited guest often resides within you? Jung believed that each of us carries a shadow, dark, unacknowledged side of our personality. It's the repository of all the traits, feelings, and impulses we deem unacceptable, inferior, or even evil. It's the thing a person has no wish to be, as Jung so eloquently put it. Think of it as the flip side of the coin of your carefully constructed ego. The ego, that conscious I that navigates the world, often engages in a rigorous editing process. It selects the qualities we want to present to ourselves and others, diligently sweeping the unwanted bits under the rug of the unconscious. This shadowy bin isn't a passive void, it's a dynamic, energetic force. Those repressed aspects, the envy we don't want to admit, the laziness we try to ignore, the aggression we fear, don't simply vanish. They fester, they grow, and they can erupt in the most inconvenient and often destructive ways. A sudden, disproportionate outburst of anger at a loved one, a flash of intense jealousy towards a friend's success. These can be the shadow peeking out from the darkness. Has this ever happened to you? You're having a perfectly pleasant conversation, and suddenly a sharp, even cruel remark slips out. You might even think, where did that come from? Chances are that was a little nugget from your shadow making an unwelcome appearance. And here's a crucial point. What we despise in ourselves, we often project onto others. That person at work you find utterly arrogant? That friend you label as selfish? It might be worth asking yourself if those very qualities resonate, however uncomfortably, within your own shadow. Projection, Jung argued, is a powerful mechanism by which we externalize our inner darkness, making it easier to condemn in someone else than to confront in ourselves. Now, the danger lies in ignoring this inner underworld. When the shadow remains unconscious, it becomes autonomous. It operates outside the realm of our conscious control, leading to those inexplicable mood swings, that persistent irritability, even acts of outright cruelty that seem to come from nowhere. It's like driving a car with a hidden gremlin occasionally grabbing the steering wheel. But here's a twist, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. The shadow isn't entirely a villain. Jung and his close collaborator, Marie-Louise von Franz, pointed out that it also contains a wealth of untapped potential. Think of it as a neglected attic, dusty and filled with things you've forgotten, but among the unwanted clutter, you might also find forgotten treasures, raw instincts, appropriate gut reactions, flashes of profound insight, and even powerful, creative impulses. Imagine someone who believes assertiveness is aggression, diligently suppressing any urge to speak their mind. Their shadow might contain the very confidence and directness they need to succeed, leaving them feeling powerless and unheard. Integrating the shadow, what's often called shadow work, isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. It's about acknowledging and assimilating these disowned parts of ourselves, bringing them into the light of consciousness. Leaving the shadow unexplored, as Jung warned, leads to a state of inner impoverishment, a constant tripping over those unconscious snags that sabotage our best intentions. So, how do we encounter this elusive shadow? Jung suggested two primary pathways: our dreams and our interactions with others, particularly our emotional reactions. Dreams often present the shadow as a figure of the same sex, embodying the qualities we disown. Pay attention to who these figures are, what they do, and how you feel towards them. These dream characters can be powerful messengers from our unconscious. Similarly, our intense emotional reactions to others can act as signposts pointing towards our own shadow. What truly irritates you about someone else? What qualities evoke a disproportionately strong negative response? Chances are, you're witnessing a reflection of something you haven't yet acknowledged within yourself. The journey of shadow work, as Jung noted, is no walk in the park. It's a painfully and lengthy work of self-education, akin to the mythical labors of Hercules. It requires radical honesty, courage, and a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. The goal isn't to eradicate the shadow. That's an impossible and frankly undesirable aim. The goal is integration, to bring the darkness into dialogue with the light, to create a more balanced and complete personality. As Jung wisely said, there is no light without shadow and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. But the shadow doesn't stop at the individual level. Just as each of us has a personal shadow, so too does every society, every culture. This is the collective shadow, the dark, unacknowledged aspects of a group, the things that stand in opposition to its stated values and ideals. The collective shadow manifests in the violence, oppression, and denial of suffering that plague human history. It's the darkness and inferiority projected onto marginalized groups, the atrocities committed in the name of ideology, the inconvenient truths about our shared past that we'd rather forget. Like its personal counterpart, the collective shadow can operate insidiously, hidden beneath seemingly positive facades. Think of historical instances where well-intentioned missionary activities inadvertently led to the destruction of indigenous cultures and languages. The civilizing mission, often presented as benevolent, could mask a deep-seated cultural arrogance and a denial of the value of other ways of life. This Orwellian reality, as the original script aptly noted, can even echo in our present times in subtle yet pervasive ways. The outward manifestations of the collective shadow are stark and often horrific: wars, massacres, genocides, systemic poverty, the death of entire cultures. But it also festers inwardly, within the collective psyche, manifesting as self-hatred within marginalized communities, widespread depression and feelings of societal impotence, and the cyclical desire for revenge that perpetuates conflict across generations. Historically, this collective shadow has often been labeled evil. In religious traditions, it might be personified as the devil, a force that can possess individuals and lead them to acts beyond their normal capacity for cruelty. But Jung's approach wasn't about simplistic notions of good and evil. For him, the primary response to this collective darkness, just like the personal shadow, must begin with self-knowledge, a relentless quest for wholeness that acknowledges the potential for both great good and terrible harm within the human collective. As Jung wrote, the individual must know relentlessly how much good he can do and what crimes he is capable of. When a society grapples with a significant issue, be it historical injustice, ongoing inequality, or environmental destruction, the presence of denial, projection, and a refusal to take collective responsibility are telltale signs of the collective shadow at play. The urge to move on without truly confronting the pain of the past, the tendency to blame external scapegoats, these are defense mechanisms that prevent the necessary work of integration. Taking moral, political, and spiritual responsibility is therefore paramount. The courage to bear our collective darkness, to acknowledge the suffering caused and the complicity involved, can liberate future generations from having to carry that burden unconsciously. Truth-telling, as the original script emphasized, is not just desirable. It's the most feasible path towards healing a fractured past. It's the painful but necessary process of voicing and hearing the outrage, the betrayal, the suffering, until responsibility is finally taken. Here's a chillingly important insight. The personal shadow can act as a bridge to the collective shadow. The example of Nazi Germany serves as a stark reminder. Individuals, grappling with their own unacknowledged aggressions, insecurities, and desires for power, found fertile ground in the toxic ideology of the Nazi regime. Their personal shadows, amplified and validated by the collective, led them to participate in unimaginable horrors, actions they might never have conceived of under normal social conditions. This underscores the profound importance of individual shadow work. By confronting our own inner conflicts, by acknowledging our own capacity for darkness, we become less susceptible to being unconsciously swept away by the destructive currents of the collective shadow. Addressing our personal demons can act as a vital inoculation against the mass psychoses that can grip societies. As the quote from Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, "The war is in us, but is also in everyone. Everything is ready to explode, and we are all co-responsible." So, this all sounds fascinating, perhaps a little daunting, but how do we actually work with our shadow, both personally and collectively? Here are some practical applications to illuminate the darkness. Regularly write about your feelings, especially negative ones. Don't censor yourself. Explore the roots of your anger, your jealousy, your shame. Ask yourself, what uncomfortable truths might these emotions be pointing towards? Keep a dream journal. Pay attention to the figures that appear, especially those of the same sex. What qualities do they embody? How do you feel towards them? Explore the symbolism and emotional tone of your dreams. Become a keen observer of your emotional responses to others. What triggers you intensely? Instead of immediately blaming the other person, ask yourself, what might this reaction reveal about my own unacknowledged traits? Pay attention to the people you strongly dislike or admire. Often these individuals reflect aspects of your own shadow, either qualities you repress or potentials you haven't yet embraced. Try to understand what specifically evokes your strong reaction. Engage in creative activities like writing, painting, or music. These can provide a safe outlet for exploring and expressing shadowy aspects of yourself in a symbolic way. Support and engage in initiatives that aim to honestly confront difficult, historical and societal issues. This involves listening to marginalized voices, acknowledging past harms, and taking responsibility for collective actions. Be aware of how narratives and stereotypes in media can perpetuate projections and reinforce the collective shadow. Question dominant narratives and seek out diverse perspectives. Actively work to understand the perspectives of those who are different from you. Challenge your own biases and assumptions. Engage in dialogue with people from different backgrounds and cultures. Support efforts to address systemic injustices and inequalities. This involves advocating for policies that promote fairness, transparency, and accountability within social, political, and economic structures. Remember that beneath the surface differences, we all share a common humanity, complete with both light and shadow. Cultivating compassion and recognizing our interconnectedness can help to mitigate the destructive power of the collective shadow. Confronting the shadow, both personal and collective, is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to descend into the depths of our own being and the soul of our societies. But the rewards are immense. Greater self-awareness, deeper wholeness, and a more just and compassionate world. Jung's warning echoes through the ages. Ignore the shadow at your peril. By acknowledging it, by engaging in the difficult but necessary work of integration, we can transform its destructive potential into a source of profound insight and growth. What aspects of your own shadow have you glimpsed in your life? How? Do you see the collective shadow playing out in the world around you? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Let's create a space for honest reflection and collective learning. If this exploration into the shadow resonated with you, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the fascinating world of philosophy and psychology. Click the bell icon to stay notified of our latest explorations. And if you're ready to delve even deeper, check out the links in the description for further reading and resources. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the shadows. Remember, the greatest light often emerges from confronting the deepest darkness. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep shining your light.